Get higher, baby. Get higher, baby. Get higher, girl. Hey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Knights of the Pages Library. We are a little podcast dedicated to reviewing audiobooks. I am Bo Knight, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother Ryan Knight. And today, we are taking a look at 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, written by Jules Verne and narrated by David Linski.
Yeah, did you know this was part of a series, the Captain Nemo series?
There's more about him? That's super interesting.
There's more of him?
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't find anything else. I was scrolling, and I just see a ton of renditions of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea audiobooks. I don't actually see a book 2 for the Captain Nemo series. So if anybody knows what the next book in the Captain Nemo series is, please let us know. kotpl.pod@gmail.com is the easiest way to get a hold of us. If you see a strange Facebook posting from KOTPL, that's us. I am such a noob, I can't figure out how to get it to look more like a business. So, if you see a weird friend request from us, that's us.
Yeah, hopefully you guys check that stuff out.
Yeah,
Well, I want to talk about Jules Verne here for a second. So he is a French author, and he wrote from like 1828 to 1905. So this is like an old book. And I didn't know this. He also wrote Around the World in 80 Days. So that's really
I saw
interesting.
that as well. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting guy. He's definitely written a lot of like old classics, I would say.
Yeah, I was going to call them old classics as well. He has quite a few under his belt that have also been put on Audible too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Journey
and this...
to the Center of the Earth. Yeah,
oh, that's him too?
Yeah, that's also him.
Hey, I didn't know that. And the version that we are listening to came out in 2017. I know there are lots of versions of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Right.
You probably get some old
Audible.
ones on like a gramophone or some shit. But this is the one that we listen to. So if it's not narrated by David Linski, I don't know what to tell you. It might be horrible.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There are quite a few different options on Audible, but if you listen to a different one, your mileage may vary from what our experience was. Just keep that in mind, please, when you write your hate mail.
Yeah, when you write your hate mail, we appreciate it.
What did you think of David Linski's narration of this book?
I think he does a really good job because this book really only has about 4 characters and they all sound very unique.
Okay.
I don't know what you thought, but I love the American that he does. I think that's great that he like puts on like an entirely different like accent. I don't know. What did you think?
I enjoyed some of it. Honestly, I didn't like... Do you remember that South Park episode with the British kid when he goes to get like trained properly as a British kid? Yeah. Quite all right, I'm sure. That's what this whole book sounded like to me.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't get that, but okay. I understand where you're coming from.
And most people probably wouldn't get that. And when I got that in my head at the beginning, it's all I could hear. I also am a huge fan of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie.
Mm-hmm. Slap.
That's the way I pictured Captain Nemo in this, and the voice was not doing that for me. And I understand that in the movie they took some creative liberties because that's not how he's described in this.
Dude, I didn't even make that connection. I'm such a moron.
Okay, well, we'll have to talk about that then when we pass the spoiler wall, because
dude, you just blew my mind.
Yeah,
you're holy crap! I didn't realize he was in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, and when
God
his ship
damn,
comes
and
up,
they're in the Nautilus,
yeah, when his ship comes up, he's like, "Gentlemen, welcome to the Nautilus." Yeah,
dude. I didn't even put the pieces to get. Oh my god, I'm
I
fired.
didn't.
I'm gonna go.
I will see myself out now.
Yeah, this is a
I
solo podcast from now on.
I didn't know that's where this character comes from. That's how educated I was before I listened to this. The Yeah, that's where the Captain Nemo character came from. I'm assuming in that movie.
Interesting. Holy cow. Dang, dude, you blew my mind. I'm such a moron.
But so to get back to David Linski, like, I thought he did good. I think a lot of that was me putting my impressions of what I thought it should be, and that's just clearly not how he saw it. I just thought
Well,
a lot of the
it's
characters
interesting.
sounded very similar.
It's interesting. Well, yeah, but actually, I don't agree with that. But it's interesting to me
Okay,
that you think he sounds too British because he's French.
right. Okay,
I don't know. Like I see all like I said earlier, all four of the characters to me sound very unique.
okay.
But I do kind of understand where you're coming from. It does kind of sound sometimes like he's putting on a bad British accent, especially certain words sound really odd. But
I
I don't know. I think he does a good job, like especially the contrast between the main protagonist, which oh my god, his name is slipping my mind right now, and
It's Aaron X.
yeah, Aronnax, Professor Aronnax, and Ned Land. Like I think the contrast between them is really great.
And yes, I do. I think those two is good. Uh, with Aaron X being French and Ned Land being Canadian,
Yeah,
but th- I feel like that is kind of where the differences ended for me, and especially with Kinsey. Kinsey, I was honestly just picturing those South Park characters. Oh, quite all right, I'm sure. Like,
yeah. See, that's interesting because I was picturing more like Alfred from like like a Batman movie.
okay,
I I
okay.
don't
Here's
know.
a question: what speed were you listening to this at?
Oh, like 1.3.
Okay, I was at about 1.5, a little bit faster, which made their voices a little bit higher pitch. So maybe
Okay.
that's where I was getting the difference.
Good day, sir. Okay, I get it.
Honestly, that's what I was getting from it. And I mean, again, that's me putting my thoughts on the narration. I don't think he did a bad job. I really don't, and I don't want it to put anybody off as far as David Linsky's performance. I really don't think he did a bad job by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it, and Ryan didn't. So Riley
It was
February.
it was quite all right, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
So it's probably the truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
sure. We should
But
also mention too,
oh yeah, go ahead.
with the genre of this book. So this is, classic literature fiction. That also comes with a heavy implication that the original publication for this book was in 1869.
And in
Okay.
French.
In French, exactly. The English translation wasn't done until 1872, which is still a long time ago. So
Yeah.
that is a huge caveat to this book that I myself have to remember as well.
But see, I don't know if I'm just getting older or we've listened to so many of these books. Obviously, older book, very flowery language.
Sure.
But I am kind of used to that now.
Okay.
And I don't know if you feel the same way, but like I kind of have to set the mindset, like okay, these are going to be really dense sentences and like really elaborate words are used, and like you kind of have to like change your brain like compared to like if you're listening to something that's come out recently because the writing style is totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. I will get into my feelings on that at our
Okay.
recommendation point. The length of this book clocks in at 11 hours and 13 minutes. That's the version we listen to. I believe some of the versions are different lengths. I'm not sure if that means they cut stuff out, added stuff in, spoke faster, spoke slower. I'm not exactly sure. The one we listened to, though, is 11 hours and 13 minutes.
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple that are like 17, 16.
Sure.
So yeah, maybe this was abridged, but I don't remember
No,
it saying that.
it says unabridged, so I'm not sure if they add, like I said, maybe some of the other renditions do a few things different.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if they just speak slower.
Could be. We listened to this on Audible. You could get this for free if you were to sign up for an Audible free trial, or the version we listened to, if I could find it quickly, looks like it would be about $25.
Yeah, $24.95.
Yeah, if you purchased it outright.
And there's another version that's only $3.49, but your mileage may vary with that one.
Oh wow.
The reviews are
Interesting.
lower, so
Really? Very interesting. See, I think that's very cool when you get the same book narrated by different people. I do think that is a very interesting thing that we do get to experience in today's day and age.
yeah, I feel like it's really uncommon though.
It is. I do think that that's true.
I mean, unless you're listening to some dude just reading the book on YouTube.
Right. And most books are not like this where it's very much so a classic. So multiple people got to get a hold of it and, give their take on it. Most books are not like this.
Yeah, it's very true.
Okay, so the big questions. What do you think? Easy to follow?
No, but I think that is a product of its time period.
Okay. I would agree. The flowery, drawn out sentences, descriptive, almost overly descriptive language made it hard for me to follow, even though the overall story, when I look back at it, is very simplistic.
It is a very simple story, but there is a lot of striking imagery, I would say,
Sure.
that is painted with like a very fine brush.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it is kind of hard to follow. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't if I had to like do a book report on this, I probably would get an F. But
don't let that discourage you though from listening to the audiobook to do a book report on it.
No, definitely. if you're like, man, reading sucks, do the audiobook 100% of the time. It's going to take 11 hours. You can do it while you're playing video games or doing something else. Like, and I know, like, I feel like me and you are not normal because, like, I a lot of the complaints I get from people who are like, I can't get into audiobooks. It's just hard for me to pay attention to them and do something else. You do kind of have to condition yourself to be able to listen and do something else.
Yeah.
But I think with time, anybody can do it.
Right. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I just don't know a better thing to do when mowing the lawn other than listen to an audiobook, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
It's just great.
Yeah. It is great. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I have basically read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I didn't have to turn a single page.
Exactly. Hence the name Pageless Library.
Yeah, true. So, do you want to get into the recommendations now?
Yes, but you go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay.
I want you to go first.
I enjoyed this, but because I really like seeing kind of where like these sci-fi tropes come from, and like there are so many ideas that are used still today that come from this. Like I feel like this is a really good like heritage book. Does that make sense?
Sure.
To kind of like look back on like the history of a lot of things. Because I feel like almost even books that are based on like space kind of owe some stuff to this.
Sure.
And I did kind of find myself enjoying it, especially towards the end. Like I think the beginning is a little slow, but once it kind of picks up and you kind of get introduced to everybody and like what's really going on and like what this is a story about, I did find myself enjoying it, and I was like kind of I thought it was good, and I don't think I wasted my time listening to it. I enjoyed this, but I think your average audiobook listener would not enjoy this because like we said earlier, the language is very dense. But I mean that's something that I appreciate, that like this book says in one sentence, this book says what other books say in a paragraph. But you really need to be able, your vocabulary has to be really high, and I don't mean to like push up my glasses like I'm like way smarter than everybody. But there are a lot of words in here that if you don't know what they mean, like that sentence means nothing to you.
Hmm.
And so, like, if you are truly like you love reading and your vocabulary is really high, I think there's a lot of things here for you to enjoy. But I could see why somebody wouldn't enjoy this because it's really dense, it's really flowery, it's kind of meandering. But I personally enjoyed it.
Okay, that's good. I think those were apt descriptions of it for sure. I wish I could go back to 1872
Okay.
and experience this when it first came out so that it would be more interesting to me.
Really, you didn't think it was interesting?
I didn't
Damn.
find it that interesting. Now, that is because I'm looking at it through the lens of somebody who has all this other media that I've experienced. When this came out, it had to be revolutionary
Oh,
for
dude,
someone to
people's
be
minds were blown.
right, for someone to be talking about this without getting too spoilery, but for somebody to be talking about this submarine exploring the world solely under the ocean.
Yeah.
Had to be mind blowing. I understand that. We live in the age of nuclear submarines that can spend months under the water. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It, I feel
I
very jaded when I listen to this. I feel very it almost bummed me out that I felt myself comparing the book to so many modern things when this is not a modern book.
see that's really interesting to me because I really like put myself in the shoes of like Professor Aronnax.
And that's the way to do it. That is the way to listen to this book. I know that's a very stupid thing to say, that there is a way to listen to an audiobook. I do think that's true though. You This is a story you have to put yourself in the shoes of the character 100%. Because if you do what I did and you listen to it from my shoes, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I could see where you'd be like, man, it's just fucking boring.
Yeah. And that's honestly, it's where I found myself most of the book, unfortunately. I did think there was some cool stuff in this, there was some interesting stuff in this. Nothing, though, that I think because I had heard it from other media spots, kind of like you were saying, that so much, whether it's sci-fi or things like that, take pages from this book, and I've probably consumed it in those ways before. That's what I was comparing it to, and I don't think that's necessarily fair to the book, but that's how I interpreted it, and it made my overall experience not very enjoyable for this one.
Okay. Okay. I feel where you're coming from.
I
I
also,
don't agree.
and that's fine. I also, though, think that the story, without, we're going to go past the spoiler wall here shortly, but I think that the story of why Professor Aronnax is able to be on the Nautilus is very silly. And I'll explain that after we pass the spoiler wall because I don't necessarily want to spoil the
No,
story.
yeah. I get you. Yeah, that part is weird for sure. I don't know. I was really able to like put myself in his shoes because he is somebody who studies the ocean, and
Mhm.
like to me, like it was like, oh man, like this would be mind blowing. Like if basically everything that you thought was impossible was actually possible, and you were able to
Sure.
experience these things. Like I found that really compelling. I don't know, like it, like and like the true like glee that he has at some of the stuff he sees. Like I kind of felt that too. I
Okay.
don't know if that's just me like projecting a little bit, but I don't know. I was really able to kind of like get in his mindset, and I don't know if that's just because like I like to learn too, and so like kind of learning along with him and like expanding his repertoire of already a mass knowledge, basically like throwing all of that away and like starting over. Like I found that really compelling.
Yeah. And no, and that's good. I wish I could have had the same experience.
It kind of surprises me that you didn't really like this, huh?
I honestly, it surprises me too. And I went into this one trying to enjoy it, and there wasn't much that I found myself latching onto.
Okay.
I I didn't really enjoy how proper the characters were to each other, no
See, I
matter the
love that shit.
circumstance.
I don't know why, but
I
I
don't know.
love that. Like, I really like the character Kinsey and like how they describe him and like the lengths that he's willing to go for Professor Aronnax. I don't know. Like, I kind of relate to that. I don't know if that's weird,
Okay.
but
Honestly,
I don't know.
Ned Land felt like the only real character in this story
No,
to me.
really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he was the only one that was like, this is insane, we can't keep doing this. And the rest of them were just like, no, it's perfectly fine, I'm sure. It just
Okay,
I don't know.
just for everybody listening, they don't sound like that.
No,
Ryan
they
is doing a
don't.
terrible job.
Yeah. I am literally mocking the guy
Yeah.
who narrated this, and I don't, that's just how it sounded to me though, most of the time.
Yeah, okay. I don't really. You don't like Professor Aronnax doesn't seem like a real person to you, like somebody
He
who's truly driven by like the thirst of knowledge.
he does, but in a very written character way. In When I say that, I mean he's very like two-dimensional as a character. Not like
Okay.
you can't tell me that at any point in this he would be more shaken, by some of the stuff going on. He literally is technically a prisoner at some points.
Yeah,
But
you're not wrong.
he's like, oh, this is perfect. I can continue my studies, which still to me makes no sense. It really doesn't. That he's able to do that.
See, okay. I guess I took it differently, kind of like I already said, but like I understand like I don't know, like if you were obsessed with like the moon, and like you had known everything that you could know about the moon from Earth, and suddenly you were there on the moon, even though like maybe like the conditions weren't perfect,
Even though the
but
guy
you
that
would
took you to the
still be
moon,
like blowing. Wouldn't it be blowing your mind that you
yes,
were on the moon, like actually touching stuff and seeing the things that were there?
yes, but you would be on the moon, and the guy who took you there was like, by the way, you can't leave my side ever again till you die. Don't forget that. That is part
Yeah,
of the story.
it is definitely part of the story. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean that does come to a head eventually, and like
Yes, it does.
yeah, I I don't know.
I'm not trying to change your mind. Don't think I'm trying to change your mind.
No. I'm just trying to explain why it made me feel the way I did.
Yeah. And again, I wish I could have got into this one. This is the longest discussion we've had on our recommendation, by the way. Anybody
It is. I know.
go,
'Cause we usually
go
don't
back
disagree this much.
right. Go back and listen to any other book we reviewed, and we don't. We don't usually argue about the recommendations at all.
We're not
But this
arguing. We're just talking.
true. The Yeah, I tried to get into this one, and for some reason this one I had too many ideas firmly planted in my head that just wouldn't let this one be enjoyable for me, I guess.
So okay, I think the main difference is that I took this at face value of like what it actually is, and I didn't really come in with any expectations. The only thing I knew about this book was that 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea doesn't make any sense because that's a measurement of distance, not depth.
Correct.
But
Yeah,
that's not what this is about.
not at all. They never go 20,000 leagues down.
No, because that would be
If that's what
impossible.
right, if that's what you thought they were going to do, they don't do that.
No. So yeah, I would say I give it like a thumbs up. Ryan is like, meh, it sucks dick.
I wouldn't say it sucks.
I know I was putting words in your mouth.
um I wanted to like this one. I don't know. I couldn't get into this one. Maybe I'll listen to it again sometime in the future and see how it strikes me. Maybe I'll listen to it from a different narrator and see if that's any different for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. So yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of classic literature, you've already read this. So I don't know. I guess I don't know who I'm recommending this to.
Right. That's a good point too.
So
Also, if
yeah,
you've seen the movie The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and you want to know where Captain Nemo comes from, you need to
I didn't
listen to this
even
book.
realize that.
Yeah. It took me a while to catch on to that that's who that character was. And by the way, the Nautilus is way cooler in the movie, but that's because the movie is from like 2004 or something like
Well,
that.
yeah, it's basically a ship. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
really like a sub,
No, it's a ship that
and it's
can just
huge,
happens to submerge. Yeah.
and it has those cool like escape pods that they use at the end of the movie.
Right.
Those
With
are
the
dope.
like the blades.
Yeah, that like push it along. It's so cool.
Yeah. Okay. Let's pass the spoiler wall. So for anybody who's new here, if this is something you want to listen to, pause the podcast now, go listen to it, check it out. You have our recommendations. But please come back afterwards and hear what we have to say about it. We're pretty much just going to try to talk about the whole story as far as we can remember.
Yeah, so buckle up.
I
So,
was
go ahead.
hooked immediately on this story, by the way.
Okay.
That was
I think the beginning is slow.
I liked the beginning, which is very interesting because the beginning opens up with a couple different stories from around the world, right? Of people thinking there is a monster in the ocean, essentially. Because we've had multiple ships in different places, different countries of origin, things like that, having been either attacked and damaged severely or sunken completely due to some unknown reason.
Yeah, and whatever is doing this like moves in a really erratic way that doesn't really make sense for something that's in the ocean.
Right.
Like
And so
it's able to dart backwards really quickly and like move around in just strange ways that ocean creatures cannot really accomplish.
right, it's also able to pierce the hulls of these ships, which are like ironclad ships for the time, very sturdy, well-built vessels of their time. Which is when we're introduced to Professor Aronnax, correct?
Well, it starts immediately from his perspective.
That's
He's
true.
just
Yeah,
he's just
right.
kind of explaining
You're right.
that like he wasn't really paying attention to all this stuff, and then he gets a letter from America, and they are sending out the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is like an old steamship, and they're setting out to hunt what they assume is a narwhal, and they want him to come because he is like the world leader on ocean knowledge.
Correct. Professor Aronnax also brings with him his
Manservant. I don't know what else to call
manservant.
him.
That's what they call him in the book. His name is Kinsey,
I know, which seems super demeaning. Like I don't want to be called a manservant.
right? Also on board the ship as well is the Canadian harpoon expert of the world, Ned Land.
Yeah, and Ned Land is a great character. He's super cool. Him and Professor Aronnax are like complete opposites, but they get along.
Right. Yeah. If Professor Aronnax is the everything's all right guy, Ned Land is the poopy pants.
Yeah, he is
Thinks
kind of a
nothing
poopy
is okay.
pants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing is okay with this dude.
Yeah, he has wants and desires.
Right. So the goal of the Abraham Lincoln when they set out is to find this presumed whale and allow Ned Land.
They think it's a narwhal.
Right. And allow Ned Land to harpoon it and kill it to end its terror around the world, right?
And it's interesting to me that Ned Land doesn't even believe this thing exists.
He is very skeptical of its existence at all.
And I do like in the beginning how they explain like the equation to determine like how much pressure you receive as you go deeper in the ocean. And like
sure.
basically explaining like things that would go that deep have to be immensely strong or they would be crushed by the weight of the ocean.
Right.
And I don't know, I really thought that was really elegant kind of way to like set up like the kind of impossible things that happen.
Yeah, it was pretty cool because, and it also, the bigger the creature would have to be, the more pressure it would feel, the deeper it goes,
Mm-hmm.
which is what really interests Aranax throughout a lot of the story. It comes up again a lot later on. Um, but what happens, right, with the Abraham Lincoln is they find their supposed creature, and then they proceed to. Did they fire the harpoon at it, right?
No, they shoot a cannonball.
That's okay. That's what I thought. And shortly after, their ship is attacked, right, by
Yeah.
this supposed creature. And in the attack, it's like a spray, like a jet of water, which ends up knocking Professor Aronnax off of the Abraham Lincoln and into the ocean.
Yeah, and they're like in the middle of the ocean somewhere.
Right. He then is grabbed by Kinsey, who jumped in the water immediately after he saw Aronnax fall overboard. Kinsey just jumps in the water because that's how loyal Kinsey is.
Yeah, dude, Kinsey's a solid dude.
He really is.
He doesn't put himself first about anything.
At all. No, it's always about whatever is going on with Professor Aronnax. They also, Ned Land was in the water as well. And is Ned the one who pulls him on top of? Is that
Yeah,
right?
he pulls him out and he's like, well, I seem to be standing upon an island.
Right, which is just under the surface of the ocean,
Yeah.
which then comes enough above the ocean to realize it is a vessel of some sort. And a hatch opens on it, and dudes come out of it and grab the three of them and take them inside.
Mm-hmm.
They then, do they pass out? Are they knocked out? I don't
I
remember.
don't know if they pass out or are knocked out. I'm not sure actually. This part's
They're
kind of
probably-
confusing.
Yeah, they're probably knocked out if I had to guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Most
Probably-
sense.
Probably punched him in the face, knocked him out. Take him down. So they wake up. You got Ned Land, Kinsey, and Aronnax are in some sort of enclosed space. They don't know. They have no idea where they are. Couple guys come in. They try to speak every goddamn language under the sun to these guys.
Yeah.
Somehow they know French, German. I don't know. They speak all kinds of languages to these guys, and the guys make no notice of understanding them at all. And then they leave. But then Captain Nemo comes back, right?
Yeah, they're like locked up for a couple days, and then he like comes and talks to them and kind of like lays down the deal that since they're on, he explains like the Nautilus to them, like this is a fantastic submarine that I invented and it's dope and basically is could do anything in the world.
Which also I took a little bit of issue with, but go
Yeah,
on.
it does get a little ridiculous, especially towards the end, but we'll get to that. And he explains to them that like since they've seen this, they are never allowed to leave because nobody can know about this. Like this is my secret thing. And like the way that he wins over Aronnax is he shows him like his library that he has on the Nautilus, which is just like full of tomes that he's written. And there are some books from Aronnax in there too, which is like kind of impresses him. But it's like it's kind of like all the knowledge that the captain has gained just from exploring the ocean in the Nautilus, like underneath the ocean.
Right. Around the entire world. He
Yeah.
goes through all kinds of different oceans just from underneath the sea. I also found it very strange though that he immediately, like shortly after he captures them, he comes back in and he's like, I know exactly who all three of you are. This is way before the internet was even an idea in anybody's head.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Ned Land is a famous harpooner.
Right. It makes more sense talking about it now because they are, both Ned Land and Aronnax are very well known, and somebody like Captain Nemo would have enough information to know that Aronnax has a manservant, which is Kinsey.
Yeah.
It makes much more sense talking about it now than when you actually listen to it.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it is a little confusing.
So then, right? Basically, once Captain Nemo explains, though, you cannot leave because you cannot tell anyone about this. However, you just get to travel with us wherever we go,
Yeah, but you have to
right?
travel with us.
Exactly. You have to travel with us because you can't leave.
Yeah, and I mean, they like go through like some food and like some hunting stuff. I mean, none of it's like really important. He like kind of explains like like how the Nautilus works and like what it's capable of and like how they're able to sustain themselves because they've been doing this for a long time.
Captain
And
Nemo also has all of these crazy inventions that nobody else has in the entire planet. He
yeah,
has scuba diving gear that he invented. He has these underwater guns that he invented that shoot like air bubbles at things and kill them almost immediately, or stun them at least so they can kill them.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, they
It's
like go hunting a lot, like in these diving suits.
Yeah, those parts were pretty neat. I kind of like that when they actually kind of get out of the shit. I mean, I don't think it made a lot of sense, to be honest, but pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. The imagery in this book is really striking. Like what he explains, like what they're seeing in
Hmm.
the ocean and stuff like that is really well written. But like the next main thing is they kind of like are hanging out by this island for a couple days, and they ask if they can go on the island like to be because Ned Land really wants to like eat some red meat. He's tired of eating fish. Typical Canadian. So yeah, they like go on land and like I like this scene where they like hunt a bunch of birds of paradise and they like have a couple days on the island to kind of like like have a good time. And like this whole time, Ned is like, we got to get out of here. Like we cannot
Right.
stay on the boat. And Aronnax is like, whatever, dude. This shit's great. I'm having a great time. I'm learning so much. Like he kind of humors him, but he doesn't really like agree to go along. And we kind of learn a little bit more about like the Nautilus's capabilities here too, because when they come back, there are a bunch of they call them savages, but really they're just native people.
Hmm.
There are a bunch of savages on the island and they try to get in the sub, but we learn that the sub is like electrified. So that when they touch it, they get shocked like touching an electric fence and they just back away.
Yeah, it's got some. It, tell me if I'm wrong, but the electricity that they are using too is not common at the time, right?
Probably not. I mean, this is the time when people are using like steam engines and shit.
Right. They are using electricity throughout this whole submarine
Well, isn't
to,
that what it like runs on?
yeah, and it creates like its own electricity from the things it's able to, well, two things. Things it's able to collect from the ocean itself, and then they also have to stop at a couple places to dig things, right?
Yeah.
Mine some resources to power this thing. Either way, it's almost like an unlimited source of power, which I did not like.
Yeah, it is very fantastical, but I don't know. It almost I kind of enjoyed that it seemed like the Nautilus had no limits.
Yeah, but to me, it was at every turn because they go to the one cave that Nemo has happened upon that has the exact resource he needs to run his ship, and he literally says, I have an unlimited supply here.
Yeah.
And I was like, seriously? An unlimited supply? Like, come on.
Well, I think part of that is like Nemo is just an asshole, and
You think so?
yeah, I do, and I think he has a god complex going on
That's
that
why I thought
he just thinks he's amazing.
that is exactly why I didn't like the way he was voiced, if I'm honest.
Really, see, I like that like belittling tone that he kind of always takes, and like almost that like people are beneath his notice.
I thought the way they portrayed Captain Nemo on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is spot on to the way I pictured him because of his tone, his belittling tone, thinks he's smarter than almost everyone. The way they portray him in the movie as a very stern, serious seeming character makes more sense than the way he's voiced in this as almost like an upbeat, like, ho ho, you think you're so smart, but I am smarter. I already figured that out. I just felt like the high pitched tone didn't really fit his character in the way he was voiced.
I feel like he's thinking about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen too much.
I think you're right.
You should think about this first. This came first.
But obviously this was long ass time ago. But that is what stuck with me though, is I felt like his character needed to be much more serious sounding, more of like a deep, stoic tone. Stoic is the way I pictured him.
Well, he is an arrogant intellectual,
right?
And he's kind of aloof because he can be. Like he doesn't need to think about you because he doesn't give a shit. He's thinking about way more important things.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I don't think you're wrong. It was just an issue I had with.
No, yeah, I hear you. So like the next major thing, right, is the captain takes Aranax on like a sea walk underneath this like volcano, right? And he shows them the city of Atlantis, which the way that this part is written, I think is really beautiful. He paints such an amazing picture of like this old, like sunken city essentially. And they like this is a long part where they just like spend a lot of time exploring it, and freaking Aranax is blown away. He's having a great time. But then like after this, they kind of get cooped up on the ship for a long time, and like Ned lands like in like he's constantly complaining and like we gotta get off here, we gotta get off here, we gotta get off here. And they make a plan to leave, but they like get interrupted because I can't remember what happens, but like something happens, so they end up staying underwater longer than they were expecting. Because they like did the math on how often they have to come up for air, and like it doesn't have to be very often.
It's like once every 24 hours that they're supposed to come.
They're supposed to, but they don't have to.
Right.
And so like it kind of screws up Ned Land's plan, and then they like go to the Arctic and start like fucking around in the ice. And like this part's a little ridiculous to me, where they get stuck, and they like get stuck in an iceberg. And the way that they get out is they like boil a bunch of water around the ship using its limitless electricity to like unstick themselves from it.
At one point too, don't forget, I don't even understand how this happened. They are outside of the ship with fucking pickaxes picking away at the ice. Underneath the ice. And I don't understand how they were doing that.
Diving?
Remember, because they're all super low on oxygen when they're doing it.
Well, they're not low on oxygen. It's like the carbonic acid is higher, so it's harder to breathe. They still have oxygen. It's just like the ratio's all messed up.
Right, but Aranax like passes out like twice.
Yeah,
but
you're not wrong. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Aren't they like picking the ice away with pickaxes to try to help unstick the thing? I was so confused at this part. I was like,
this part is a little confusing, and then like Aranax convinces the captain to fucking like boil water, and they get out of there, and it's fantastic. And then after this is like probably the scene that most people would think is like what this book is known for, but I really feel like it's not. They get into like a battle with this huge cuttlefish, right? Even though I think
a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, but there's one massive one, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they like get into a fight. They fuck it up. They make it. Even the cover of the book, I feel like, makes it seem like it's gonna be like this epic battle with this squid. It's so fucking it's gonna like tear this sub down to the ground. But I mean, that's not what happens at all. They basically like don't even really phase them. They like chop a couple
kills
of
one dude.
It does take one guy. That part's actually really interesting to me because the crew doesn't speak at all, which I thought maybe like they were automatons at first, but they're humans.
Oh,
I don't. Is that not what you thought? Because they won't speak.
I did find it very strange that they don't speak to anyone, obviously, other than Captain Nemo, but they don't do it in front of Aranax. Which the whole story is from Aranax's perspective. So
it's essentially like a journal that he's written, right?
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, he grabs the guy, and the guy screams out in French, and so like Aronnax is like, "Whoa, these guys have speak French this whole time, and they won't
Right.
even talk to me. Like, what's really going on here?"
Right.
And then after this, like the next big scene is they get the Nautilus gets found by another ship, right? And this part I feel like isn't, and maybe that's why there's more to this series about Captain Nemo. But it doesn't really get explained. But we kind of learn that Captain Nemo has lost his family to the country that is on that ship, and like the ship kind of engages them in combat, and he decides like, you know what, we're killing them all. And like this is the last straw for Aronnax. He's like, okay, we got to get out of here. Captain Nemo is clearly insane. Like he has like bloodlust,
Right.
and like this is like gotta be the end for us. And he sinks that ship. I do like the scene though that like he sinks that ship, and then he like goes back into his quarters, and he just starts sobbing like instantly, like, oh man, like that was too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Well,
I
because at
like
one-
that scene.
Don't they split the ship in half, and
Yeah.
they can see the crew members, like the ship is on fire, and they can see them where the ship is split, and their ship is sinking, so they know all those men are probably going to die.
Yeah, it's like 300 men or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
pretty hard.
It's brutal. But so Ned Land and him come up with the plan to leave. They're basically just like gonna go out the top hatch.
Well, they're gonna
Which-
get in the little
Right.
little boat thing, right?
Yeah.
That takes them up to the surface, no matter
Yeah.
where they're at.
But
And
like,
the idea was that they were gonna do that whenever they were close to land next, but they hadn't been close to land in a long time.
yeah, and like the course that the Nautilus is charting seems random. Like it's just kind of going all over the place. It's not really predictable at all.
There are actually, I'm on Wikipedia, and there are actually maps. People have mapped it out where the Nautilus
Wait,
went.
really?
Yeah, where exactly it went, apparently. Pretty impressive. Maybe
That's
the
impressive.
author made these. Oh yeah, it says right there. Par Jules Verne. So maybe he drew these on his own after he, or while he's writing the story.
Hey, that's cool.
Pretty neat.
That's pretty neat. So yeah, which I feel like the ending of this is very rushed. So they escape. Huge storm kicks up. Actually, is the only reason they're able to escape. So like all hands are on deck. You know, they're trying to manage the Nautilus. Like the ocean is doing crazy shit. And hey, correct me if I'm wrong. So they escape. Kinsey, Aronnax, and Ned Land escape. And like while they're escaping, does the Nautilus go down? Does it actually sink?
I didn't fully understand what happened at the very end.
Yeah, because
Captain,
it feels very rushed.
yeah, because Captain Nemo also has like a mental breakdown because he sees them leaving, right? But doesn't try to stop them.
Well, yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, because I think to me, I interpreted that as like, oh, even if they leave, the storm's gonna get them.
Correct. But I didn't understand why the Nautilus was in danger of the storm, because they can just go back underwater. I didn't really understand the ending.
Yeah, the ending is yeah. So they escape, and before we can really figure out what happens, Aronnax is knocked out.
Again.
Yeah,
Happens a lot.
again, you're right. Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah, his brain is probably mush. Being knocked out is super bad for you. Yeah, but he gets knocked out, and he just like Ned Land must just be like the best oceaneer ever because he saves them all and is able to like get them to like a little fishing village, and that's pretty much where the book ends.
Right. That's about all I can remember too.
Am I missing anything?
If you are, I can't remember. Please, if we are, feel free to email us and let us know. Again, kotpl.pod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. I'm sure we're missing stuff. We breezed over a lot of stuff. Again, it was an 11.5-hour book basically, and we just covered it in like 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's true.
So I know we missed a lot of stuff, but you definitely hit the gist of it. There's a couple other things that happened that are of note, but not a huge deal.
Yeah,
and I think that's why I kind of found the book pretty boring, because it seemed like no matter what happened to the Nautilus, it was just like, it's no big deal because we're the only ones in the world who have this technology and it's fine.
Yeah,
I al-
yeah. I don't know.
had
I
a huge
like that
problem
because
too.
this is like really like probably like one of the first books that's like, oh, this is a fantastical machine that really can do anything.
Correct. And you're right. And I understand looking at it through that lens of you got to remember when this book was written. Makes a lot more sense. But when I listen to it now, I'm just like some of the stuff I'm like, ugh. I don't when Aronnax asks how Nemo constructed the Nautilus, he was like, "Oh, we just brought in these separate pieces and I put them all together here in this secret location." It's like that no. That's not how anything works. Clearly someone had to bring you the pieces which they knew were pieces of something bigger and somebody would have seen the bigger thing you were making. I just I have a hard time
Yeah,
with stuff like that.
I guess that is true. Unless all the crew who work on this were the ones who built it.
And that could be. I just there were a few issues I took with it. Again, the unlimited power type of thing. I it's I think I was trying to listen to it too much as a very grounded story, which it kind of is, but it has very fantastical things that happen.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And yeah, it is. It's a fantastical story. I don't know, but like if I would have read this in the 1800s, my mind would have been blown if I could read.
Ex- exactly. That's why I said I think if you had experienced this book, I would say even if you read this book or listened to it when you were really young, it would make a huge difference as well.
Yeah,
I'm an
I
old,
agree.
grumpy son of a bitch, so I I guess it didn't have the effect on me that it probably could have.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. So yeah, you got anything else you want to say about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? Which
No.
refers to before somebody's like, actually, you use fathoms to go under. That is a measurement of how far he went. He
Right.
went 20,000 leagues under the sea because
Yeah, exactly.
they were under the sea.
The deepest they ever go is under the one iceberg, right? And it's like 9 miles down or something
Yeah.
like that.
So I don't want to ever hear a person ever again be like 20,000 leagues under the sea. It doesn't make any damn sense. Read the book and then you can say that shit.
Exactly. Yeah, and at first I was confused too. I was like, even close to the end, I was like, that. Wait a minute, why is it called this? But yeah, they went a long ways underneath the water, but not deep underneath the water.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm done beating this dead cephalopod.
Bloated horse. So yeah, thank you all for listening. This is probably our like most divisive episode, which is interesting to me.
Yeah, that's not what I was expecting. I mean, I thought there would be a little bit. I didn't know it would be quite such an interesting conversation. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty interesting. So yeah, thank you all for listening, and yeah, we hope to catch you guys in the next one.